Can you please give me your full name?
Of course, my full name is Gihad Ahmed Dawood.
Okay, thank you. Where do you live?
Well, currently I live in Cambridge. I just moved in here.
Thank you. And can you please describe your hometown?
Well, I spent my childhood in two different cities, but if I have to call one of them my hometown, I'd call Tanta. That's a small city back in Egypt. It's mid distance between Alexandria and Cairo. It's not a very big city, but it's quite safe and quiet there. So I'd say
Thank you
it's
very
very
much.
nice.
Thank you. Do you like to drive or to take a means of transportation?
Personally, if I could drive for a career, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I enjoy driving, especially at night with some good music. That's a free therapy, in my opinion.
Thank you very much. Let me ask you, do you like music? Hello, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Do you like museums? Have you ever been to a museum or an art gallery?
As far as I remember, I recently been to a museum back in London. It's the Art Gallery. It was an amazing experience. I went there with my husband and it was so mesmerizing. All of the painting in there was a piece of art, literally.
Thank you very much. Let's move on and talk about music. What's your favorite type of music and why?
That's a hard question, but if I have to minimize, I'd say maybe classical music, because we play classical music a lot in the house. It's kind of relaxing and we can do multiple other tasks while we listen to it.
How do you overcome stress?
I don't feel stressed, to be honest. I'm not that very emotional, but in very hard situations, maybe I just take a walk in the fresh air, spend the day outside, just have some quality time, and that's it.
Thank you very much. Now let's move on to part two. In part two, I will give you a topic. Talk about an interesting story that someone told you when you were a child. You should say what the story was, who told you the story, and why do you think it was interesting? Once again, tell me about a story that someone told you when you were a child. And you have 1 minute to prepare yourself.
Okay.
This is your question. Talk about an interesting story that someone told you when you were a child.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
You can start now.
Well, as a start, my mom used to tell us a lot of bedtime stories, me and my sisters, when we were young, because we were kind of scared. But there's this one story I always remember. It's very famous, and I think every child knows this story. It's called Beauty and the Beast. It's a Disney movie nowadays, I believe. It's this story that tells that there's this beautiful and well-educated girl that she had to sacrifice herself to save her father from being a prisoner for this wild, scary beast. And at first she was very scared and very terrified from this beast because, well, he looks so scary and he's angry all the time. But then as time passed and she gets to know them, she discovers that he is very well educated and he has good manners, and he is a beast because of some issues with a witch or something. So the moral of the story, or bottom line of the story, is you don't get to judge people from the way they look or how they look, or not to get to know them or anything. You have to get to know them first and have a relationship with them first, and then you still don't get to judge them, because it's not your place to judge people. It's to either accept them or let them be.
Continue, please, continue.
That's why I find this an interesting story, and every now and then my mom keeps telling us this story and reminds us that the moral of the story is to be yourself and find the people that are similar to you. not to find other people and try to fight and obligate them to what your beliefs. This is wrong.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now I'd like to move on and ask you more. Do you tell your kids such stories or not?
Well, I don't have kids yet, but I'm planning to tell them bedtime stories, of course, because first, they build a good relationship with the parent, and second, they help them with their imagination to visualize what you're saying.
Thank you. Now I'd like to move on to part 3. Do you think parents should tell their children stories, and why?
Well, my humble opinion, as I mentioned before, is very important as it builds a relationship with the parent. And of course, because if it involves the folklore or the culture of your home country, it helps them to be more attached, even if you live in another city.
Thank you very much. Thank you. In your country, do grandparents play a role?
Of course, they play a role. Grandparents are important everywhere. They are the wise part of the family. They act as a judge whenever there's a fight or an argument. And of course, they are a trustworthy babysitter when you don't have a babysitter. At least I trust them.
Do you think in the future, children will be attracted to stories in books or online, and why?
We can all see where this generation is going, and it's not a good place. And of course, online would be very popular. It is already popular nowadays. I don't like this, and I hope I'd be wrong in the near future, but sadly, we can see that they are facing their mobile phones and their iPads all the time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.